do an assessment, and most medical doctors, if they know or someone has alerted them, can do an assessment on a person to tell if they're maybe in the beginning stages.
Most definitely.
Or something like that. I actually did one recently because I felt like I was not remembering as much.
For yourself?
For myself.
Yes,
I
most
asked my
definitely.
doctor for myself. And what they did was they gave me a test that they give to the presidents. And you have to, cause they have to do a mental assessment. And then you score on that. It takes a while to do it. You have to make an appointment. And then they can kind of tell from the questions that, whether or not it might be in the beginning. And Dave, this question is for you. If somebody has memory issues, because all of us do.
Oh, yeah.
Young people can't remember things half the time. But how do you know when you're having memory issues, if it is in fact something that's leading towards Alzheimer's dementia? You might lose your keys all the time. You might. My mother said if you didn't have it around your neck, you wouldn't have it. And I was in junior high school back then because I would always lose my door key. But how do you know if it's just the fact that somebody lost their key or misplaced something? That could just be a memory issue, or if it really is maybe Alzheimer's disease or something like that. How do you know the difference?
That's a great question. So a couple of things, and it's normal for those memory issues to get worse and worse and worse.
Right.
People have problems remembering names, it tends to get worse as you grow older. People have problems remembering faces, it tends to get worse as you grow older. The key here is how much does it interfere with your daily life, your daily activities.
Right.
Once I start getting in the way, like, what's your name?
My name's Christine.
Kristen.
Christine.
Christine. And then our, ma'am, your mom? Karen. So Karen was saying something about her leaving the thing on the stove.
Yes.
That's unusual. That's a change because it's not something that she wouldn't normally do that.
Right.
Neither would her mom normally.
It's drastic.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not drastic, sometimes it's subtle.
So,
Sometimes it's change.
That is so true because when my mom was going through it, I feel like I'm an expert because I researched it myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what this thing was that was taking over my mother's life. Because my mother was, like you said, docile, kind. All of a sudden she's cursing and going off and and stuff like that. And I remember her going to her door. She had her key, but she did not know how to use it.
Oh wow.
She didn't know how to use it. She knew she had her key and she pulled it out because I was standing in the back of her. I'm like, Mom, this is your apartment. And she just was had the key, but she didn't know where to put it, how to turn it, none of that.
Yeah.
So it's the process, as JD stated earlier, it's like they can't process it anymore.
Yeah.
And you see this person's body, but their mind is beat.
Right.
It's the worst disease I've ever seen.
It's terrible.
in my life.
It's terrible. How many of you are dealing with someone who is dealing with dementia? Your godmother.
my godmother.
Who's this?
I said I have dealt, not as a person, but I have dealt with some.
Okay. And you? You have to.
I have, but my father passed.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. It's a terrible condition, and I really feel, like I said at the beginning, it's something, I feel very passionate about this, because we really have to get a hold of it. We can't keep saying, oh, we're gonna wait for the next drug to come around, and hopefully we'll be able to spend $26,000. And that's just for the treatments. That doesn't include all the tests, the nursing activities and everything else. So we need to know. Yes, ma'am.
Do you see in the next 5, 10 years that might be, I know they have these drugs now that can, slow it down.
Yeah.
But like in the next 5, 10 years, you see us getting some cure for Alzheimer's. It affects people of all nationalities,
Yeah.
all race, all age.
Yeah. You know what, I just hope they begin to expand their research expand the research to include African Americans, because that's a big problem. We're not being very well represented. And part of it is we're not too enthusiastic ourselves about doing this research, so that needs to be broken down too. But also, we need to look at other things. We're now finding out that inflammation in the brain is one of the key factors. Radical damage, blood flow. blood flow is a big problem, like I said before. If your brain cells aren't getting enough oxygen, they're gonna die or they're gonna dysfunction. And so we gotta address that as well. We gotta address the whole thing of blood sugar levels, especially in the brain. We gotta address that. We gotta figure out ways to protect the brain from all those different kinds of damage. I just hope that someone in the FDA or someone else begins to look at this from a more holistic perspective, because
Absolutely.
we can't keep looking at just one factor. By the way, how many of you are sleeping 7 hours a day? At night. I expect every hand should go up.
Yes.
If you're not sleeping 7, and by the way, 7 hours at night, I'm talking about uninterrupted.
Right.
And I'm talking about in total, complete darkness. If you cannot sleep in total, complete darkness, get an eye mask to cover your eyes so you sleep in total, complete darkness. Why is that important? Are you a doctor?
No, but
I keep thinking that maybe she should come and do the presentation. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. You what?
I'm
Yes,
not,
yes.
no, I'm not a doctor, but I love, half my life was in medicine, the other half business, so I had to learn with this vessel right here.
Right.
So I try to go holistic, nutritional, because they said on PBS that sometimes these amyloid plaques are in your system maybe 20 or 30 years before you have your first symptom. So my thing would be, the holistic thing is, because every organ in your body needs certain nutrients.
Yeah.
So, and that goes, we take care of our car,
Yeah.
we take care of our clothes, we don't take care of our body, but your
Right.
brain needs certain nutrients, as
Yeah.
well as your heart, your liver, your gallbladder. So holistically, if we were taught in society, like you said, the things about vitamin D, how many people know that with the brain? Most of
Yeah.
us think of vitamin D with calcium in the bones, so
Right.
if we start taking better care of ourselves, maybe more plant-based exercise, that's gonna squash a lot of the stuff up there.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm fighting for, because my mother had Alzheimer's. My brother just got diagnosed as mild stage.
Mhm.
So I haven't been tested yet, but I've been doing stuff since I was in my 20s to prevent. I
Fantastic.
didn't know about Alzheimer's then, but to prevent stuff from happening.
That's great.
I wanna live well.
That is great. Give her a round of applause, please. Good job. Good job. But here's the thing, it is never too late. Never too late. You need to start right away, like yesterday. By the way, before I get to Karen, real quick, the reason why I'm emphasizing sleep, the reason why what we're finding out is that the parts of the brain that deteriorate the most have also to do with the parts of the brain that are related to memory and to learning, and also are the exact same parts of the brain that regulate sleep.
Wow. And this is in total darkness with no media on, radio,
Turn
all
up,
that stuff.
turn up it's better you don't have to sleep anywhere close to your cell phone or any of those electronic devices, because of those EMFs, those waves will affect your brain waves. So you want to put those far away from you. When sleeping, I would encourage you to take a shower before you go to bed, brush your teeth before you go to bed. Have the AC on to about 68 degrees. You want to be in the cold, but keep your socks on.
Right. Keep your socks on.
Keep your socks on. Keep your socks on. That's important. I can't go into that detail right now.
I've never slept in socks. I can't read you.
You sleep in a cold. I'm saying that if you're sleeping in a cold room, keep your socks on. Why do you keep your socks on? I've forgotten how we explained it. This is like a sleep doctor, but the core has to be cold. The core of the body has to be cold because that helps with the sleep. But the extremities should not. They should not be cold. Circulation, yeah. Karen, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I either heard it or read it, when you sleep, it kind of flushes all that
Yes.
plaque out of
Boom.
Yes.
Very important too. It's only when you get good 6 to 7, 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep that your brain has the chance to do a lot of things,
Yes.
including getting rid of the toxins and the plaques. The plaques that we're all talking about. Those things appear in several different scenarios. Like for instance, you're not sleeping well, those plaques build. If you're stressed out, those plaques build. If you have diabetes or hypertension, those plaques build.
Or eat bad food.
So sleep helps to cure and get all that junk and crap. Can I say crap?
And the other organs too.
What?
All the other organs too, they have a time
To
when they,
clean up,
when
yeah.
they have to so sleep is.
This is a well
Aren't they
educated
smart
audience.
people?
My goodness, I'm impressed. Yes, ma'am.
You said cold, speaking of cold, how cold?
68 degrees.
'Cause you give it 2 more degrees.
Okay, listen, you don't have to get 100%, but look at the other things we talked about. Darkness is probably the most important thing. Darkness, you gotta sleep in a dark room. You got to sleep in a dark
In
room.
a dark room.
No TV, no phones, no nothing. This those blinking things will affect your brain chemistry. Christine, did you have something to say?
I'm just listening.
Just listening. Our token male in the room. Do you have anything
You
to
have
say?
to leave that cafe alone.
Yeah.
I have a question, but I'm not sure if it's related.
Okay, go ahead.
I sleep apnea, so I sleep with a sleep machine.
Yep.
And my doctor told me that the brain was being denied of oxygen, having me to wake up 2 or 3 times, 4 times, whatever it is during the night.
Yeah.
So I do that. And when I go back, I've got nothing but good responses. Now, if I wasn't doing that, I had a friend who she was 52 years old, and she had sleep apnea and never treated it.
Oh,
So she passed away.
from what? I'm sorry, dear.
Dementia.
Dementia.
Yeah, and she was, and we didn't know, and I didn't know until my daughter says, "Mom, you're stopping breathing at night." And I went, "What are you talking about?" "No, I don't." So that's when I went there. But I'm pretty good about doing that. Trying to convince my brothers who are hard-headed,
Is that one of them?
maybe, that he should be, the 2 of them should be sleeping with him, but they don't. And I said, once you've done the damage, there's no reversing it, but it's
All right.
somebody else thing.
Yeah, you can only,
Yeah.
what's the word now? I'm in the wrong room to say,
You can lead the horse to water, but
Yeah.
you can't make it drink.
saved by the bell, right there.
So am I doing the right thing to keep, and I'm listening to the other things that you're saying that I need, I really am, but I won't stay on this long. I do forget things,
Yeah,
like where I put my keys,
Yeah.
or I walk away and say, what did I walk in this room? But it comes, or I think of the word, and it doesn't come right there, a few seconds later it pops in.
I mean, it's nothing to worry about, but I always say, that's the only brain you have, you gotta do the absolute most you can
Right.
to preserve it. So don't accept that as normal. I mean, I take a lot of other things to help my brain, even though I'm over 50, but I take a lot of things to help my brain and other things. So I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get to you in a minute. If your vitamin D levels are optimized, you have less chance of having sleep apnea. Your vitamin B levels, especially vitamin B1, your B1 is what helps regulate sleep apnea. And we know that a lot of people are deficient in vitamin B1. Vitamin B12 is also very important. So you need the B vitamins, but number 1 thing you need is the D3. That is the super regulator of the brain. The super you can. And again, we're all black here except for Karen and Brooke. And a couple of you are like, I don't know, I'm not sure what to call you guys over there. And it happens to whites. A large part of the population is vitamin D deficient. If you're not gonna stay in the sun, can't force you to stay in the sun, gotta make up for it. And they're saying, like I said, the range is 30 to 100. The people who know what they're doing and treating dementia, they're saying about 100. Now, some of you are going to be highly reactive. Some people, they take like 1,000 milligrams a day, or 1,000 I use a day and they react to it. Others I take it like 20,000 a day. But that's just me. I can tolerate it. And still, I checked my vitamin D levels recently, it was 83. Most doctors would say that's too high, but like I said, the neurologists who are treating say it's about 100 is what they've seen that works. Because that's what's for the brain. Now 30 is for your bones. If you have 30, your bones are okay. But if you're talking about something as complex as the brain, you probably need a lot more. So please check your vitamin D levels. You've got to check your vitamin D levels and make sure that they are being optimized. That will do you more good than anything else I can say. Yes, ma'am.
I think I have two. Is there such thing as D overload? I mean, sometimes when you take these vitamins and you go to the doctor, they say to you, you have taken too much calcium, you have taken too much.
You don't want to, real quick, calcium is not what you should be taking. You should not be supplemented with calcium, especially if you're black. Do not supplement with calcium.
So, is that a possibility that you can take too much of a?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, but I think unfortunately doctors put a lot of scare. How many minutes do I have?
You're fine.
Are you sure? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Doctors tend to put out this scare out and say, oh no, don't do it, you're gonna get overloaded. But I'll tell you this, those, back to the pandemic, they're now doing research now, they're showing it. Those who had the most severe forms of COVID-19, who are still dealing with long-haul COVID, and who died, vast majority, over 95% for sure, had very low vitamin D levels.
That's what I'm saying, go get the vitamin D.
But so but they're quick to so I tend to want to opt for higher levels because of what I know and I can tolerate it too, because like I said, another thing, what do they call those Baywatch people again? The people that are outside by the water. Lifeguards. Okay, I call them Baywatch people. So they test them. And they say because they stay out in the sun so much, they can make as much as 25,000 international units a day. In some cases, they've seen as much as 50,000 from a lifeguard staying out in the sun for one day. What is recommended? Do you know what is recommended? 600 to 800. 600 IUs. So think about that. Your body can make as much as 25,000, but they're still recommending something from the dark ages. But we are not recommending enough. All right, now to your question.
The second question though was, we talked about taking care of the body, taking your vitamin D, sitting in the sun, getting your exercise. Where does heredity play a part in this? Is heredity a part of this? If your family history has dementia, what would be the likelihood of you having dementia? Because I've heard that it runs in families, or is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and that's just 5%.
Okay.
What we found out is that 5% is strongly genetic, and most of them would happen before they turn 65. I guess one of the most popular would be Pat Summitt. Remember the great basketball coach, female basketball coach? She got hers in her 50s. And I think she died before she turned 60. So that's early onset. So she had so the genes play a part. Also your family history. If someone had dementia.
And I think B. Smith, was it B. Smith?
B. Smith, right.
She got it early.
Yeah, very early.
Yeah.
The restaurant entrepreneur.
Oh, really?
Yeah, B. Smith.
Okay.
Yeah, the restaurants in DC, New York,
Actually,
things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if she knew what to do, she could have caught it and reversed it. Because you remember how we started this whole talk? We started this whole talk by saying it's about damage to the brain. So the key, and I'm going to tell you what the key is to successfully treating dementia, or to stopping it, or to preventing it from going forward, the key is one, to minimize that damage, to protect yourself against that damage. And number two is to optimize your body's ability to repair the damage once it has happened. And so with black people, I'm going to tell you three things why we tend to have dementia worse than white people. Are you ready? Let me know when you're ready, because you don't want to miss this. There are three main reasons why blacks tend to have higher rates of dementia than white people. Number one, we have greater attacks on our brains. Greater attacks.
Greater attacks on your brain.
Our brains suffer greater attacks. Number two, we have fewer defenses. And this is because of our lifestyles, our diets, our attitudes, racial factors, yes, educational factors and awareness factors, another reason. Money, another reason. Okay. All those different things. I'm just giving you the footnotes now. All those things combine to make us more susceptible. Okay? I just mentioned vitamin D. That's the great protector of your brain. And we have the least amounts. Okay, so that's just one example. We are low in other things as well. We're low in magnesium compared to we're low in potassium. These are extremely important for the brain. We're low in vitamin B. Just mentioned vitamin B1 and B12. We don't like taking as much raw fruits and vegetables where we can find some of these things. Okay? You know, a white person can't come out and say this in front of you guys. You know that, right? Most white people would just not want to say this. So, you know, unfortunately, they should. Doctors should be saying these things to the black community. I'm trying to get more and more black doctors to talk about these things. So what was that?
I said, you're right, they don't give enough information. 'Cause I know when I did
Education.
those Ds, they don't go into telling you, they don't tell you what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
They'll just say you need to get this level up, or you need to do
Yeah.
this, and they don't explain.
Yeah. Part of it is that they're not being trained in that direction. I mean, I had to leave medicine, believe it or not, I left medicine for a few years to learn these things myself before going back into medicine. All right, and then how many do you have now? Two. All right, the third one is obvious. We are the least likely, we are the most hesitant to go seek medical help when we begin to see problems happen. Is that okay to say? I mean, it is the truth, but sometimes I get in trouble for saying the truth.
So in other words, David, you're saying
Yes.
that when we do seek medical help, a lot of times we're already way into whatever's going on.
That's right.
Because we don't do preventative
That's right.
at all.
That's
Not, I won't say at all, but enough, not enough. Yeah, and I think the other thing is even though there are all these societal things that happen with us that make us the people on the bottom of the totem pole, you still have to be an advocate for yourself and your family and your friends. Because my mother went a little bit further than she would have because of her children, because of people like me who advocated, who called these members, who got the 1-800, who like educated the people at the nursing home. No, that's not, no, put something else on it. She's not gonna eat that. I don't care if she does have dementia, she don't like that stuff. You know, and then they started feeding her and she started eating, and that's only because we advocated. A lot of times we sit back with our hands up, oh, they're not doing this. Nobody's gonna rescue you 100%. They're not, especially when you have this color.
Exactly.
You gotta advocate. My doctor even said, you really advocate for yourself and your family. That's the reason why we became a little bit more healthier than we did. We changed the trajectory of the nursing home, because when you walk in there, it stinks. And I said, my mother gotta live here. You know what it was? They were throwing their undergarments and whatever into the trash can. And we made them change that. And then they started doing even more than that. That nursing home, the whole atmosphere shifted because me and my sister and other people started getting on the bandwagon, making it change. They're not gonna just do it.
Yeah.
They should,
Yeah.
but a lot of times they will not. They won't do it. So we gotta stop not blaming, because our story comes from Africa all the way over on the boat. So if we don't get involved in our own health, in our own situation,
Yeah.
and keep waiting for other people to do it, it is not going to happen. You might end up somewhere with a nice doctor who might really do the workup, because a lot of it is a workup. They gotta test this and test that.
Yeah.
A lot of times they don't.
They won't.
I'm like, okay, my toe is hurting, but you saying my arm is hurting. No, it's not. I know my body. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times and then it's not our fault a lot of times. Sometimes, especially our elders, like my grandmother, they don't know how to explain themselves. I saw an older lady at the meat counter trying to just get some meat. The guy in back of her, the guy that was waiting on her, was white. He didn't know what the hell she was talking about. Honestly. And I had to say, no, she wants that, not this. It's a big communication problem. We have all these issues, and that we're waiting on somebody to come rescue us and do all this stuff for us.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna happen, not in this country.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, if you do have somebody that helps you with that in your medical field, hang on to them.
Yes.
Because you're not gonna find everybody like that.
I'm part of it. I give her a round of applause for saying that. That's really good. That's really good. And she's just hit the nail on the head. The finalized analysis, it's up to us. And it's up to us, it's up to people, and this is one of the things I'm going to do with the Baltimore City Health Council. I'm like, we've got to start also not only educating the people, but also the doctors and the healthcare professionals, because they don't know what to do, especially when dementia is concerned. They're not even trained in dementia. Like for instance, diabetes, most of them won't know the connection between diabetes and dementia. They won't know the connection between insulin resistance and dementia, or infections and dementia. So we got to train them for this so they'll be more apt to look for these things and test for these things, so that they can better
You
educate.
kinda have to train them.
Yeah.
They'll try to diagnose you for a ashy leg, you ain't putting no lotion on. They talking about some disease. Like, oh no, I just need some lotion. I'm just what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? I'm serious. They do stuff like that. You're like, because you kinda have to educate them.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying that all of them are like that, but you do run into stuff like that.
Well,
And you take it for granted.
Yeah, and they should be checking the vitamin D3 levels for sure. I mean, that routinely. I mean, if I were I say in Nigeria, if I were the Minister of Health in Nigeria, I'll make sure that everybody does their vitamin D levels. Because even in Nigeria, where we help the sun all the time.
And the other thing
People are
is,
so
and I'm
deficient.
sorry for interrupting, but I gotta get this out, because this dementia thing is personal, because I lost my mother. But in other countries, I studied that too, they do not have dementia like they do in this country.
No, they don't.
They do not. They live longer, and if they do have it, they handle it differently. Like if you have a loved one in a nursing home or something like that, they have stuff that they can use to help them stimulate their brain a little bit more. You know, like how they can walk up to a wall and hit a bell, but here, they just sit you in a room and medicate you. That's why when you walk to the nursing home, everybody's sitting in the hallway like this. I ain't kidding. Everybody's sitting in a wheelchair for the most part with their head down because they've been over-medicated, because these people act out because they got dementia, and the people, the 2 or 3 who making $14 don't want to be bothered. You got, and how could you? You got one person with a whole side of the floor, about 20 people, and I only know this because I experienced this. And I'm like, and they would tell me, well, it's a whole bunch of, I said, well, you shouldn't have took the job. I'm sorry, I'm gonna hold you accountable. And then we started helping. We knew how to flip my mother. We knew how to feed my mother. So we and then when they saw that, and they saw us getting involved, they did start bringing people in, because they would call the floor, and they will keep this in mind, guys, they called the floor memory care. They didn't know nothing about dementia. They just tagged it memory care because they can get more money.
Right.
And so your loved one in there and say they have dementia, because we have memory care here. It had nothing to do with dementia. I only did that, and when I got out my car, they said the people at the front desk said, here come Miss Lloyd. When I stepped in that door, I'm like, okay, what's up? What's going on? You know, and they do a lot better now, but that's what it is. You know, that's what it is. And I'll pour that 1-800 number out, guys. Keep that number.
Yes, please.
It's very good.
It's on the sheets you have.
Yeah, it's very good.
That was good. I guess we're going to run up. Yes, we're going to run up very shortly, but please make sure you keep those those workbooks talk about things like what tests to order and the cognition and all that. We couldn't go over that, but that's very important as well. Karen.
I just have one question.
Yes.
You know, you were talking about all the words with I.
Yeah.
Is isolation, can that affect your?
Isolation is one of the 12, oh no, one of the dirty dozen, yes, very good.
Absolutely.
Isolation is definitely, and we mentioned something about sleep, so insomnia is another I. Injury is another I, obviously, hitting your head of falls and all those things. Insulin resistance, yeah, so maybe one of these days we can do a full, we can do the 12. One of these days I can come back and do a talk on dementia's dirty dozen.
Okay, so you guys want him back?
Yeah.
Okay, right. I'm sorry that the screen didn't work today, because normally we do have it up, but we have, maybe you come over here one day and we can test run it.
Okay.
But we will have him back, and they also have one about financial something too, but we would love to have you come back, to give us some more information about this, because it's really, really important for you guys to know. It's nice that you're exercising and going on trips and stuff like that, but you do need to take care of your brain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Get out in the sun, get out in the sun.
And get some sleep, right?
And get some sleep.
Get some sleep.
Get some sleep.
Get some sleep.